This is Can Pektas, 30 years old and a 5-time German champion in blind soccer. The ball rattles, so Ali can hear where it is on the field. His goalkeeper, his coach and a guide let him know where he is on the field and where the net is. It's then up to Ali to beat the sighted goalkeeper.
It's a kind of freedom, just not having to overcome any obstacles, not having any hurdles. That's what I like about soccer. That's what it does for me. When you find something like that in life, when you have something that while you're doing it, everything around you no longer matters, then I think you've made it.
Sound is the key to blind soccer. Can Pektas listens to the balls rattle, his opponent shouting, and his coaches telling him where the net is. And then he can run, dribble and score, even though he's blind.
Everything is designed so that I can do it. There are 2 boards on the sides, but otherwise it's just a 40 by 20 meter court. The obstacles are my opponents. It's the same if you want to drive fast but can't do it on the highway because there's a traffic jam. But if you're driving on a racetrack like the Nürburgring or something, then you can step on the gas. That's a moment, a situation that's created for you so that you can do it. And that's why it gives me an extreme feeling of freedom.
Es ist eine extreme Freiheit, die das in mir auslöst.
Of course I've kept a few things. Not that much, but I've kept a few things from back then. Maybe I'll spread it out a bit. Here's Ali in kicker, 2007. Typical of his patient style back then. The highlight, first German championship, the celebratory pictures.
Das fing an im Jahr 2006, als ich
It all started in 2006, when I somehow, purely by chance, saw a few wild guys and girls, who could almost say young ladies, running with a ball, a large ball, and enthusiastically playing soccer with it.
großdimensionierten Petsyball herrennen sah, die voller Begeisterung damit Fußball spielten.
They were all completely blind students, and when I saw that, it just clicked.
Und danach, als ich das gesehen hatte, machte es bei mir fast Klick.
It was just an idea. It's my favorite sport. Why shouldn't my students be able to play it too?
Ist das meine Lieblingssportart? Warum sollten meine Schüler das nicht auch machen können?
Soccer for the blind had then only just arrived in Germany. Peter Gussmann started a club at his school. 13-year-old Can Pektas was in the game from the start. Here he is playing in the first Marburg blind soccer tournament in 2007. 16 years later, the next generation from Marburg School for the Blind are now practicing. Ali visits the gym where it all began. For him, too.
That was the beginning of it all. Touching the ball for the first time, the first practices. We didn't have a field back then, so we trained for the championship here. It felt like home back then, the gym. It was 2 or 3 times a day. This place just gave me a feeling of freedom, especially back then.
Freedom. It's the same feeling Ali, who has been blind since birth, gets while riding his bike.
Es ist der Schall, auf den man zufährt.
You ride towards the sound. Of course, it's pretty easy in such a large gym. If you can roughly estimate the distance and know that you shouldn't turn the handlebars any further to the right because you can hear the wall next to you, it's just like the barriers in the game. That's why it works quite well. That's how I can take a lap.
Kann ich einfach meine Runde fahren. Komm, bitte bleib stehen.
Please stay up.
So. Jetzt habe ich mich selbst eingesperrt.
Great, now I've trapped myself. Figures.
Hält.
Done.
Ali's old classroom at the School for the Blind in Marburg. He became a student here in 2003.
Nach der Grundschule, die habe ich an
After elementary school, I went to a completely normal school, a school where students could see. And after that, my parents started asking themselves, what do we do now? And back then, I think they made a very courageous decision to say, let's get out of our comfort zone. He should go to a boarding school, learn to be independent, and be trained and taught according to his disability.
geschult und unterrichtet zu werden.
His former teacher remembers very well.
Ja, ich war eigentlich gar nicht besonders gut.
Anstrengender Schüler.
Challenging student. He didn't just listen, he always wanted to discuss.
Hat viele clevere Ideen.
He had lots of good ideas, but sometimes rules and deadlines were also necessary.
Regeln zu setzen, Zeiten vorzugeben.
Homework was certainly not his favorite thing.
Nicht immer sein Lieblingsthema.
Und wenn die Schule zu Ende war, dann
When school was over, I usually just had practice or other interests. I wanted to play soccer. Homework, you know how it is for a student. It's something you do at the last minute. I can also remember often doing it at 7:45. Sometimes I even did it during lessons. I tried everything, it's true.
muss ich ja nicht belügen.
A traditional school curriculum is a particular challenge for blind people.
Wenn wir auf eine Landkarte
If we look at a map of Europe, we can see at a glance roughly the size of Germany compared to the size of Malta, or that Turkey is only a very small part of Europe.
Teil hat,
It's much more difficult for someone who has to learn this through touch.
braucht also
It takes longer. And you can see that Ali is gradually crossing the borders here and feeling along the important routes.
wichtige Verbindungswegen ertastet.
Ali can also feel his first big achievement here, the trophy from his first German championship in 2008.
Ja, 2008, die erste Meisterschaft. Wenn du das einmal gewonnen hast, dann
Once you've won that, it's just like when you get any award for something.
kommst, wenn du den einmal
Once you've won a personal title or a team title, it's addictive. You don't want to stop because you know that if you won it once, you can win it again.
weil du weißt, wenn du den einmal gewonnen hast, dann kannst du ihn immer wieder gewinnen.
Will this season bring a sixth championship? Ali has an even bigger dream for the national team.
Das Highlight ist
The
natürlich
highlight will undoubtedly be the Paralympics. Germany has never qualified for them in blind soccer, and it would be an absolute dream come true, because then I would really have played everything and could really play at the top level. You can't compete with better teams than at the World Cup and the Paralympics. And simply soaking up the atmosphere in the Olympic and Paralympic village with all the athletes from all over, I think that would be unforgettable. And I would love to experience that and not just on TV.
nur am Fernseher erleben.
German blind footballers all have a day job. Ali works in cash management at Deutsche Bank. Today, he's working from home in Oberramstadt.
Was ich dann immer schon versuche, ist, meine Trainingseinheiten so zu legen.
I always try to schedule my practices so that I can combine work and training. Today, when I'm working from home, I can fit a workout in on my lunch break, depending on where meetings are. Or I can do a short workout before work.
Ein kleines Workout machen.
Sometimes I do both, before and during my lunch break, and then after work I can actually go out on the field, like today, and do a bit of ball work.
Um zum Beispiel heute auf den Platz zu gehen und ein bisschen Ballarbeit zu machen.
Ali's computer screen is dark. He only brightens it to show us how a blind person works on a PC. A computer voice reads out what can be seen on the screen.
Für mich ist es immer ganz
I like it when the voice isn't too human. It can do what it does, do its job, for me much faster. I get more out of that than if it spoke to me very slowly. Now, for example, it's halfway through.
Jetzt ist es zum Beispiel auf der Hälfte.
It allows Ali to work easily.
List of 5 objects. Link, Deutsche Bank, 1 of 5. Link, corporate institutions, 2 of 5. Link, private clients, 3 of 5. Link, client logins, 4 of 5. Locations, end of list.
But some people think blind people can't even work.
Es kann ja sein, dass man sich vieles nicht vorstellen kann oder vieles nicht weiß.
Maybe you can't imagine it or just don't know. It's absolutely fine to ask questions and be curious. There's nothing wrong with wanting to learn, but it's not okay to live with prejudice and believe that's how it is. So to say, can you work at all, is wrong.
Kannst du überhaupt arbeiten?
The question is actually, how do you work? Because if you ask me, how do you actually work, then you've at least understood that I work and want to know how. Then I can help you. But if you ask me, is it even possible to work as a blind person? Then I have to assume that you live in a world that is full of prejudice. I think it always depends on how you ask the question. Hi Rasmus, how are you, buddy?
Good afternoon, everything is great, yes.
Very good.
Nice at lunchtime.
It doesn't get better than this.
Ali works full-time at Deutsche Bank. He also has practice 6 to 10 times a week. Ali will get special paid leave to attend the World Cup in the summer, but he has to use his annual vacation to prepare.
If, for example, we have to take days off for the Bundesliga because we have to travel to Hamburg and leave early on Friday. But if you factor in the 2, 3, or 4 days, you end up with just under 30 days that are purely for soccer. You have to do your work for the bank, and you have to bite the bullet and say that it's just the way it is. You just don't have the vacation. Even if I didn't use my vacation to relax, I used it to do what I like to do best. And 10 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and stop.
Wow, awesome, buddy.
So Rasmus, if you have time, I'll see you tomorrow.
Wenn du Zeit hast, hören wir uns morgen.
We'll do that. See you then.
See you later, my friend. Ciao.
Bye.
I just got a few more messages. Let me see if there's anything important. Okay, there was nothing. That's not important. Okay, I'll reply in a sec. Perfect. Let's put this away.
Ali also trains with sighted players at FC Oberramstadt.
It was something the national coach and I wanted, to get another practice session during the week, because, as is the case with most players, the clubs are a long way away. 2 hours there, 2 hours back in my case, and with waiting times. Here I can do a lot of work, like work on ball awareness, passing drills, warm-ups, sprints. And then, when they go into their scrimmage as a team, into their strategy lessons, I have my individual things, such as passing or shooting goals, or certain dribbling routines. Then I can refine those things.
Ali has 2 important things in his life: soccer and family. 2 of his cousins are at practice today.
Because he's important to us, exactly.
That was well put.
Yes, I agree. He is important to us.
Exactly. I grew up with him, and we used to play soccer together.
They even experienced the first kicks together.
Exactly. And I just love watching him do what he enjoys. He does it with a lot of passion. And it's just beautiful.
Oh, that picture is perfect. I think with my mom and Ali Can. I think it's so beautiful. How old were you then, Mom?
Wie alt warst du da, Mama?
I don't know. 23?
23?
23.
That's what he always loved, tearing things off.
From the bottles?
Ja, das voll geliebt.
Yeah, he really loved that.
Das war sein Hobby.
That was his hobby. Tearing off the labels on bottles. He always tore them off. He always thought it was great. He always tore off our wallpaper too. Baba, Ali Can always tore down the wallpaper in the room too.
Damals.
Ali's grandfather Hassan came to Germany from Turkey at the end of the 1960s. Ali's parents followed 10 years later, and in 1993, Ali was born blind.
You guys, Ali Can with his angelic curls, so cute, isn't he?
Voll süß, oder?
When Ali's mother thinks back on this time, all her feelings come flooding back. In her mother tongue, Turkish.
Her seferinde bir başka kapı açılıyordu. Yani hiçbir zaman öyle onun o eksikliğini düşünüp korkularım hep onun yeni bir kapı açılmasına o korkularımın yenmeme neden oluyordu.
How can I explain it? I don't know.
Ali Can'ın engelli olması.
Öyle dünyaya geldi yani nasıl karşıladım? Ali Can her seferinde yani hep korkularım vardı nasıl olacak, nasıl yapacak diye. Ama her seferinde öyle bir büyük kapı açıldı ki Ali Can'a. Hiç o eksikliğini göremedim. Yani her seferinde bu nasıl yapacak, nasıl edecektim hep böyle bir kapı açıldı.
Basically, despite the fact that he had an obstacle, a health obstacle for himself, in the end a door always opened to give you hope.
Du eigentlich immer trotzdem noch Hoffnung geschöpft hast.
Exactly.
So
ähnlich.
I'm also very proud. He's achieved everything he's wanted so far. I'm satisfied, of course.
Ich bin auch zufrieden, natürlich.
I didn't think he would make it this far, but he's doing it. He's studied, he's playing soccer, he has his job. He's independent. He can do everything. Yes, what we as a family have given him and what he has achieved, of course I'm proud. Not everyone can do that.
Ali often travels from his job at Deutsche Bank in Frankfurt to Marburg for soccer practice. As if the journey itself didn't require enough attention, Ali is sometimes offered the wrong kind of help.
For example, people saying I should take the escalator because walking up the stairs could be a problem. I mean, that's nice advice, absolutely, no question. But if I couldn't walk upstairs, then I probably wouldn't walk upstairs. It's just a bit difficult sometimes, but as I said, they don't mean any harm, so I don't hold it against them. But of course, I always have to prove myself to others so that they understand. I think that's the crucial point, which really shouldn't be part of my life. The S-Bahn stops in front of you and then the doors start to beep. You can either decide to take the door to your right or to your left if you're standing between the doors, and then take the one closest to you. That's spatial hearing, just like you have spatial vision. I don't think it's that different from spatial vision. You just somehow know what sounds closer to you. As a sighted person, you could also see whether the door to your right is closer to you than the door to your left. And it's actually the same with hearing. I don't think it's a special feature.
Taking the train to Marburg for practice and back home to Oberramstadt takes up a lot of Ali's time. He's often on the road for 5 hours. Exhausting.
I've never actually thought I'm going to give up before, but I certainly can't now. Yes, as I said, sometimes it's just exhausting when there are delays, especially on the trip home. Back home, it can be an issue if it's late at night. And to Oberramstadt, that's not the most popular destination. It's not like the train runs every 5 minutes. You have to wait a long time if you miss the train, and you can end up standing in the main Frankfurt station for an hour. I can think of better things to be doing at 11 o'clock at night.
Ali uses the time to check emails. A computer voice reads out everything that appears on his smartphone. Ali is dependent on the train. There is no alternative. Not the best conditions for a competitive athlete.
Sometimes you have to miss practice in Marburg because it takes so long to get there. If practice starts at 6:30 p.m. and you planned on arriving at 6:10 p.m., but the train is 3/4 or half an hour late, then you just turn around in Frankfurt because it's just not worth it.
The trip went smoothly today. His team's goalkeeper will pick him up at the Marburg station and drive him to the soccer field.
That's actually one of the few things I envy about sighted people. Otherwise, I've never really had that feeling where I say, phew, why? But driving, I really do envy them that. So for me, this flexibility is simply a pivotal point to simply organize my own time. If at some point in 10, 15, 20 years' time, autonomous cars were to be on the roads here, I think that would be a huge relief for me and my everyday life, because that would give me even more independence.
That would be a great day for Ali to drive his goalkeeper Nils Hemmenstedt to practice. Work, travel, no breaks. Why does Ali do it at all?
Ali always wants to be the best, but there are others too. And there are others who are better. That's the problem. But that's where Ali wants to be, so he invests everything. But then, unfortunately, he also suffers setbacks due to injuries and so on. But he just has to get through it.
A few weeks later in Schiltigheim, near Strasbourg in France.
Let's go in.
A preparatory tournament for the World Cup.
Fokus langsam wieder hochfahren. Ausruhzeit ist jetzt vorbei. Jetzt geht's ran. Wir fangen locker wieder an. Einatmen, lang machen. Ausatmen, lösen.
If you can play international matches, if you can represent your country at the highest level, if you can compete at the pinnacle of the sport, then you really don't need many things to motivate you. But finding the right balance between taking the day off, living in the day, and keeping focused. That's the most important and actually the most difficult thing about this job.
Ali and the German national team prepare for their evening match against Turkey.
Bauch anspannen.
Tighten your stomach.
Bauch ist fest.
Your stomach is solid. Fists too. Arms tight, tight. Breathe in, breathe out. Release.
Atmen dabei nicht vergessen.
Out on the field, England is playing Japan.
Einbeinstand und wir kreisen das Sprunggelenk rechts nach außen weg.
Two teams that are more professional than Germany. Japan has its own association specifically for blind soccer, which supports the team financially. Many English players only have to work part-time. The rest is paid by the English Football Association.
That's essential, really. You know, if you look at probably the 5 out of the top 10 teams in the world, they have some form of financial support. And it just allows you to have that freedom of not needing to go and work 8, 9, 10-hour days and then try and go to the gym afterwards, or fit in coaching as and when where possible. You can prioritise the sport, which what needs to be done if you want to be a Paralympic winning team.
Lunch. 7 hours until the game against Turkey, the European runner-up. The German national blind soccer team also receives financial support. Travels, meals, accommodation. The German Disabled Sports Association and the DFB Sepp Herberger Foundation contribute a set budget. But the players are not paid at all.
It's just very, very important, if you can make a living from a sport like this, that opportunities are created so that athletes are simply better supported so they can manage this balancing act. That you find an arrangement somehow that you allow half days or even extra days for the guys, because ultimately they represent their country and really give their all. And you wish that there were or could be a way. And I think that really is a crucial point for us going forward.
Und solange wir nicht dazu kommen,
as long as we can't manage to create more professional structures, in my opinion, we might be successful, but only because the players really want it.
Wird es vielleicht Erfolge geben, weil die Spieler ja unbedingt wollen, die machen das ja.
That's what they do. They invest everything. And that's what I wish for them all. I really hope they can qualify for the Paralympics in Paris, even though it's very, very, very difficult. But as long as it's still like this, it's not a foundation or a level on which we can work.
Ali has 2 full-time jobs, the unpaid one as a blind soccer player and the paid one at Deutsche Bank.
We talk very openly about when it fits for him to take time off for soccer. It's not just simply a given. You have to look at how you can manage it. Also out of fairness to others who naturally also have free time but can't get out of work.
Ali's annual vacation is often taken up with soccer tournaments. No time to relax after a national tournament.
Processing all these experiences, not actually having much time for it, and then having to perform again and the next day at work. It's not actually that easy to manage the transition. I still find it difficult, even after all these years. I think it's just natural for people to need a break. But that just can't be arranged. In other words, I arrived yesterday, unpacked, and today I'm going on somehow. I don't know how. You just drag yourself through the day or the week.
Things are getting serious. The final preparations before the World Championship against European runner-up, Turkey.
It's always special for me, of course, because that's where my roots are. I always look forward to these international matches because it just has a special meaning for me. And winning them would, of course, mean even more for me.
Ali, come on, get the ball. 3, 2, 1, now. 4, keep going. 3, keep going. 2, don't stop. Come on, keep going.
This game only works through communication. Unfortunately, we can't make eye contact. This means there is a lot of shouting by the goalkeeper who can see, the coach on the side who can see, plus the guide behind the opponent's goal. And this gives you a picture in your head during the game so that in principle, blind soccer can work just like sighted soccer. The fact that blind soccer naturally has a lot more physical contact than sighted soccer, and that there are many, many physical fights, that's part of the sport, but it also makes it more strenuous.
Macht ihn aber natürlich dann eben auch anstrengender.
Okay, they've got a really big goalkeeper. Here's the center. Okay, left. Left post. This is the right one, Alex. End goal center is here. Here.
You've lost the game. You can't change that. You can't influence it, and you can't do it over. It's just over. And then there's the disappointment. At that moment, I think it's just about being far away from everyone else and just taking the moment to reflect. I can't do anything with uplifting words. I just need time for myself, and then I'm fine. But it's just really that moment when you turn inward a bit and collect your thoughts a bit, maybe tame your emotions a bit, and then everything is fine again.
Vielleicht auch ein bisschen die Emotionen bändigt und dann ist ja auch alles wieder gut.
I think we put in a very, very good effort. Sorry for all the fans watching at home and watching here. I'm sorry.
Tut mir leid.
It's a bit of a shame to be robbed after all the effort, especially when you dominated the game and deserved to win. But that's how it is sometimes in life, in sports. I always said soccer within these 30 minutes that we play here. That somehow reflects life. Sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're unlucky. Today we were unlucky.
Shortly after the game, something happened that changed Ali's life and that of his family.
Mir hat man es nicht sagen wollen. Ich habe zufälligerweise durch einen guten Freund von mir, der auch
They didn't want to tell me. I just happened to get a message from a good friend who also plays for the FCO, saying, yes, I wish you lots of strength and everything. It's really too bad what happened. He wrote me a message that more or less said it. And I know exactly what I wrote to him. What's wrong? Why? And he said, what? You don't know about it? And I said, what don't I know about? And then he wrote that my cousin had caused the traffic accident. It was a moment of shock. I think that's how I would describe it.
Oder des Schockmoments, so würde ich es, glaube ich, beschreiben. Wir saßen irgendwie, das war kurz vor der Abschlussfeier in Frankreich.
We were sitting there. It was just before the closing ceremonies in France. And then this news came, and yes, you don't really know what to do or say then. I thought briefly, do I leave now? But actually, what can I change? What can I do? I just knew she was in a coma. And then we decided that it would be wiser if I just came on Sunday morning, as originally planned. But I wouldn't go home, I'd go straight to the hospital.
Aber dann halt nicht nach Hause, sondern direkt ins Krankenhaus.
Ali spent every day in the hospital for the following few weeks. He wanted to be there for his cousin, Elena. But Ali still had one athletic goal for the season, mid-September in Cologne. Last match day of the German Blind Soccer League. Teams Sportfreunde Blau-Gelb, Blista Marburg and FC St. Pauli are tied. With a win against Borussia Dortmund, Marburg would almost certainly be German champions.
Ich wusste, in dem Spiel möchte ich irgendwie auch das Spiel gestalten.
I knew I wanted to shape the game and be present. That was my dream after the World Cup. I thought if I'm given the responsibility and the opportunity, I want to repay that. Becoming champion was my goal. I also had daydreams where I thought if I could visualize the game, then I would do it like this and like that. It's even better that it turned out exactly like that.
This version of you simply becomes real. And you're right here with this version of you. To see things as they really are.
And we're happy to repeat it. Marburg's number 10 making it 1-0 Can Pektas.
Final score, 1-0 for Marburg. Now, as long as St. Pauli in the brown jerseys don't win 4-0 against Stuttgart in the red jerseys, Marburg will be champions. But St. Pauli seems hungry. 1-0. But Stuttgart matches them. And even turns the game around, making the score 2-1. The final tally: Marburg are German champions. A family reunion in Oberramstadt, an important occasion for Ali and his relatives. They get together as often as they can, for example on birthdays. Ali can't always be there because of soccer, but today he has to. He's the one being celebrated. Ali's cousin Elena is also there. She is feeling better again 3 months after her serious car accident.
I can only describe it as relief. For me, it was just a relief and also just slowly returning to normal. We've become closer, but now I think I can just enjoy what's coming. Because I think we've achieved something really good now, especially her, but also us. Then I think enjoying will slowly return.
Weil wir haben jetzt, glaube ich, vor allem sie, aber auch wir haben, glaube ich, was ganz Gutes vollbracht. Das ist also, dann kommt, glaube ich, auch so langsam wieder das Vergnügen durch.
We may be cousins, but we've actually grown up more like siblings.
Ali recharges his batteries with his family. His life is often so stressful, but here there's laughter.
Gel Alijan, how did you always paint Özge's face?
She was always teased by Özge.
Thanks for telling everyone.
Yes, we always painted it at night. She didn't think that was so funny.
A childhood full of joy. That's what's made Ali strong. He is the family's favorite, even though he was sometimes quite cheeky as a child, as his cousin Talia recalls.
One of the points where I never noticed the difference between the two of us was when we played soccer. So as a child, that doesn't matter much.
Yes.
But never when I was playing soccer, because you often kicked the ball at me, and I knew you did it on purpose. I knew you really meant it.
That could be true, yes.
My grandpa is definitely our biggest fan. He always collects all the newspaper articles. He still has all of them.
It is this support and love that make Ali who he is. That, along with his ambition and absolute desire to achieve everything he sets out to do.
Many people don't recognize that he's blind. Even my children have only just learned or heard and experienced that he's blind. They said, "Huh? How?" "He plays soccer, Mum. He goes to work. He travels by train. He's blind?" My children are only 5 and 4. Of course, it's incomprehensible to them. But yes, you can't tell because he's just so open.
Ali often makes life look easy and playful, no matter how much effort it takes.
An sich bin ich sehr zufrieden.
I'm actually very satisfied. I think I've achieved a lot of my goals.
Das ist, glaube ich, schon mal etwas.
That's something that's very difficult to say about yourself.
Selbst zu behaupten.
That's why it's something that I really look at with a great deal of pride and say these are really things that I've worked for, that I've achieved.
Das habe ich geschafft. Auch vor allem sportlicher Natur.
Especially in terms of sports, where I invest a lot of time.
Aber auch einfach, wie gesagt, dieser.
But as I said, the support from my family and all these friendships, which shape me and make up a large part of my life, these are moments that give me satisfaction.
Zum Großteil ausmacht. Das sind auch so Momente, wo ich einfach sage.
For me, this is really where the whole picture just comes together.
Wo sich für mich das Bild einfach zusammensetzt.